Half a day and welcome to the Chamber Members Spotlight Podcast, where we feature one of our many small business members. As we are aware, small businesses are the backbone to any community. They provide much needed services and products, employ our residents, pay taxes, and give back to our community in a number of ways. We're so glad you joined us today. We know you'll enjoy this episode. My name is Catherine Castro, your host for the Chamber Member Spotlight Podcast. Let's get started, shall we? Our featured guest is Guam Chamber member Vantage Advertising, represented today by Tae Oh, its president. Now, if you don't know what Vantage Advertising is, it's really that really cool digital advertising billboard that you see on the corner of Marine Drive and Chalan Pasojero Road in Tamuning. So, let's welcome Mr. Oh. Half a day and welcome, Tae. Thank you for being here today. I'm excited to sit with you and share your company with our listeners today.
Thank you for the invitation.
So tell us about Vantage Advertising.
Well, Vantage Advertising is something that we've been in the plans for about 3 years. It actually took about a good 3 years to get it off the ground.
No kidding.
Because of the fact that, I was in real estate, and because most of our investments are in real estate holdings, whether it be commercial, residential, we kind of thought of how do we increase the value of our property, and not only that, how do we add value and add additional income to a property that we were holding at that time. So the idea came about. I didn't know how difficult it was going to be, but yes, it did take 3 years to get it off the ground.
That's amazing. So, was that because of any type of government regulations?
Absolutely.
Oh, I see.
Yes, it was because of any type of sign variance during that time. They had to go through the Guam Land Use Commission, and the Guam Land Use Commission had the authority to issue out sign variances, and because of the legal complications of what has happened in the past and what the law authorized, there was a huge delay in getting something like this off the ground. Yes.
Did you have to arrange for any type of changes in the law, or was there any was it basically like red tape and just maybe people not understanding where the other agency was coming from? Or?
There's a lot. I mean, I could go on and on about this.
Okay, all right.
But there was really a question because of the way that the law was written. And remember, this sign law was written in the 1960s, basically. So it hasn't been updated for many, many, many years. And there was no political motivation to really update it. The law was not too clear, and it was a little ambiguous as to what kind of authority the Guam Land Use Commission had. As an example, just to give you an example, the way the law was written was if there's a three-story building, anything up to 3-story is completely legal. But anything, if you wanted to build above a 3-story, it will be illegal. And that's the way the law was written. But they had a provision in the law saying that, well, if you wanted to go above 3 stories, then there's a variance that you could seek. And you have to go through the Guam land use process to get that variance.
Oh my goodness.
Right? But then the sign law, apparently the way it was written was it never allowed for that variance. Yeah, it was not written in there. So commissioners had trouble trying to figure out whether they had the authority to do it or not. Now, the issue was by the time we applied, precedent was already set by the digital sign that was over at the ITC intersection. So, but then now you have a new group of commissioners who are going through the law and trying to figure it out. So it took quite a little bit of time for them to figure it out. They were coordinating with the AG's office, trying to understand the law. Yeah, so
wow.
that actually made it longer than what we expected.
So, 3 years, 3 long years.
Yes, 3 years.
And you were able to finally get all of the necessary approvals. Do you? Did your products, to put up the equipment that you utilize and things like that? So I guess I'm asking a backward question, but did you get the products and then had to hold on to it for 3 years, or were you able to get something that was top of the line after you went through all of the rigmarole?
Yeah, so that's another interesting story. So there's an interesting story attached to that. We didn't get the sign and then hold on to it for 3 years. We were waiting for the approval for
good.
3 years.
Yeah, good.
And then as soon as we got the approval, we got the top of the line product at that time. Now, this is where it became a little bit of an issue after the fact. And a lot of people don't know this, but after we were approved and we bought the sign, there was a difference of opinion, and then I believe it was the Attorney General at that time. She deemed anything that was passed by the Guam Land Use Commission null and void. And this was 3 months after we got it approved, meaning we already purchased it, we already were getting the building permit ready, and so it was during that it was the toughest time for us, because we thought we went through the proper channels, and we waited 3 years to get it approved. Once we got it approved, we purchased a sign, and the investment in a sign like that was close to $250,000.
Sure.
So we committed $250,000, and then we were told 3 months later, after we got approved, that it was null and void.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was another challenge we had to go through.
And how long between that and the time you were able to finally be fully operational?
Oh, it took another year after that.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. 3 years for the approval, 1 year to go, untangle the legal issues that were there, and then finally get our building permit and construct something, and then turn on our screens.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It took
Wow.
quite a long time.
So, God bless you. But I wanted to ask you, so between all that, and then you finally get the approval, was it difficult to get your first clients to put their information up on the screen?
Yes, it was.
It was. So there was some challenges with that.
And I thought as soon as we turned it on, we'd be immediately, having customers knocking on our door and asking us to advertise with us. It didn't work that way. That's what I thought was going to happen, and this is, I guess, I was being a little naive during that time. But yes, it took quite some years to get to the point we are at right now. We are indeed full right now, but it wasn't as easy as just turning the screens on and clients just wanting to be on our screen.
Sure.
It wasn't like that. It took a little bit of convincing. It took a lot of hard work. We had to, and this was not an industry that I was ever in. Advertising was not an industry I was in. And as I mentioned, most of our previous experiences have been in real estate, education,
Right.
running service stations, gas stations. So it was a whole new industry.
Sure. So how did it, was there some kind of learning curve? Did you do any type of research? How did you, Guam is very traditional, right?
Sure.
For a long time. And so traditional advertising, people would think about, you're going to put it in an actual paper newspaper, right? You're going to have it on the radio, perhaps.
Sure.
So social media is brand new for many people, and certainly digital advertising on a billboard is something very new. How did you, kind of overcome that?
Well, The trend for many years, actually, for the past about 10 to 15 years, um, locally, because of the new generation that we have here who are accustomed to smartphones and such, um, the trend has already been changing towards that. Not as many companies were advertising on traditional media. Um, a lot of it was going into like social media, and that trend has already been set. Digital outdoor media is not something new. It is around the world,
Sure. Yep.
but we saw a lack of it here on Guam,
Mm-hmm.
and we thought, why not?
Mm-hmm.
It works.
Mm-hmm.
It could gather the audience,
Mm-hmm.
and it could attract attention,
Right.
and as long as it's tasteful
Yes.
and it's not, you're not promoting anything immoral, then I think it could be a very good means to communicate what the companies offer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Certainly, and you see things on major intersections, perhaps in Hong Kong, in
Yes.
New York City, um, I, uh, Chicago, even where they utilize, I don't know, what is it called, 3D, 4D,
Correct. Correct.
and it looks
Yeah.
like the image is coming right out of the screen.
Correct.
That's absolutely
Correct.
fantastic.
Correct.
So, those are some interesting types of opportunities that are available, but that they are not here on Guam yet.
They're
But
not.
certainly, what you offer is very interesting because as I sit at that intersection on a red light, I'm looking at your screen,
Mhm.
right? Sometimes I'm looking for our advertisement. Sometimes I'm looking at what other people are putting out there. So it's very, very interesting.
Yes.
So the one of the questions that I have is, what's the average, so for it, what's the average uh, uh, the detail or the attention that an average driver, when they pass by the billboard, like what's that capture like?
Well, we try to, and that's why we try to keep all ads to no more than like 15 seconds. You capture people's attention within 15 seconds, and that's the goal. Average attention span of a driver at an intersection, of course, it depends on the individual. We're not assuming everyone at that intersection is watching the screen. But if you are looking for like community updates, we're not only just pushing out ads, we're also pushing out community updates, things that are happening around the island, any nonprofit organizations that want to promote some of their events. Those are things that we really like to push out. It's not ad only, it's content too.
Sure,
Like we
yeah.
have our headlines that we
Yes,
try
I
to
see
push
that.
out. That's more of it's something that we want the public to be aware of. That these are the headlines for the day, and if you want to read further into it, then yes, you can subscribe to certain companies that,
Right.
that provide that type of content.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's really going back to your question. It's hard to say what that attention span is. Some folks do stare at it quite a long time because it's just they're driving and they're bored, and it's something to look at while they're sitting at an intersection, right?
It's a form of entertainment almost, right?
Yes.
So, do you offer any types of like advice to potential advertisers, right? So, obviously, you say each screen is no more than 15 seconds, but do you give them any type of advice as to say, like, do certain colors stand out?
Yes. We really don't recommend dark colors because just depending on the time of day, when it's really bright and the sun is shining right on the screen, dark colors is really hard to see. It's and the way the screen works is depending on the ambient light, because we do have a light sensor on it. It works like your iPhone. Like if there is more light, more ambient light, the screen becomes brighter. If there's less ambient light, the screen dims. So what you see at night is only what you probably 20% of the brightness that you'll see during the day. But because there's just so much ambient light during the day, we have to be at 100%. And even at 100%, when you have a dark screen, is dark image is really difficult to see. So we do advise our clients to use bright colors. Motion is a must. It really captures people's attention when something is moving versus something that's static, with a lot of fonts and words, and you can't read all of that within 15 seconds. So we ask our clients to make like bold statements, not too much text, but if they're going to have text, make it big.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And so I know that you had so much challenges while you set up your business, right? And so in that first year that you were operational, right? Obviously, you had to convince people to utilize your services, right? So you were going to fast track to today. Are you experiencing those same challenges, or are the challenges today different?
The challenges today are different, definitely different. In the beginning, it was trying to convince people to get up on the screen and see the real benefits of it. Just trying to convince people to really see the value in our, product and services was difficult in the beginning. As time passed, it's more of, I think we're at a point where all of our clients are pretty satisfied with what we offer in terms of advertising and our service. But the challenges these days are a little different because we're now trying to reach out to more medium or small size companies. Some of them may not even have the budget to put up something on our billboard, but we're trying to work with them. We're trying to work more with smaller businesses and medium-sized businesses that would like to get up on our screen.
Very cool. Very cool. So, now that you've had a couple of years in the business, is there anything that you would do differently if you were going to do this all over again, looking back?
I mean, I could mention indefinite amount of things, but if I were to maybe do something a little differently is, I think in the beginning we relied too much on people we thought that they had experience, and we were kind of listening to their advice without realizing that there wasn't real much value in those advice sometimes. And unless you get in the game and you get in the trench and learn the system and meet the people,
right,
you're, no matter what advice you're getting, it doesn't pertain to that industry that you're in, because it is such a new industry and a new type of business, and it's so unique that sometimes you gotta just pave the way. You don't know whether the advice you're getting is really genuine, or whether it's really, it applies to the industry that you're in, or even to the company that you're trying to run. So I mean, I'd be a little bit more wary about certain advice.
Interesting. So the whole world has gone through this pandemic situation, and we're all trying to, especially Guam, right? We're trying to get back on our feet economically. Has this situation with the pandemic impacted your business?
Oh, definitely. Of course, it has. When the pandemic first started, we were getting contacted from our clients, our former clients, our current clients. They just didn't have the means to really put up any type of advertising. And on top of that, there just weren't that many people on the road.
Yeah.
We had roadblocks.
That's right.
We had mandates to stay home. So,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of our clients did reach out to us and say, "Hey, we'd like to put a hold on the contract, or we'll discontinue after this month." This month, it was tough, definitely tough. Um, and we held on and we said, it's a tough time for everyone. Let's cut some slack to all our clients. If they're having a tough time, let's reach out to them. If they want to discontinue, even though there's a contract in place, then yeah, let's honor that. And I think the customers have appreciated that, because when things started rolling back, they came back to us. They came
That's
straight back to
fantastic.
us.
Yeah. Great. And so you've run your business for about 4 years now.
Correct.
So how does Vantage give back to the community that supports your business?
Oh, give back in so many ways. I mean, one way we could definitely help out is with any nonprofit organizations. We do get requests all the time whether certain nonprofits can advertise some of their their events, and some of their 5Ks or
Sure.
galas, and we try to reach out and we let them know that if we could promote their event, then yes, we'll do it at no cost. And,
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. And how does obviously you're a chamber member, and we wanted to support your business. How does your chamber membership benefit your company?
So many ways. Definitely, it's a way to get out there and network. A lot of people learn a lot more about our business just through meeting and networking and letting them know what I do, and just offering our services. The networking, you can't underestimate the amount of networking you can do within the chamber, and I really appreciate that the chamber is also looking for ways to protect small business interests when it comes to new legislations. And as I told you in the beginning, this was a highly regulated industry. So a lot of people had doubt as to whether I could really pull it off. But that's the problem we have, is that sometimes too much regulation really stifles businesses. So
Exactly. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, and the chamber does a good job at protecting the interests of these industries. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. So from the get-go, I've been a huge fan of Vantage. We were so excited to finally see you, go open your billboard and to be able to showcase all of the ads and the folks that wanted to promote their products and services and events. Before we close off, there's a couple more questions I wanted to ask you, and so interesting that you have various businesses and industries that you have you've got a foothold in,
Yes.
right? So you mentioned that you have a business in education, you have real estate, you have gas station ownership, and you also have the digital advertising billboard. What advice would you offer to anyone who is interested in starting a business from scratch?
Oh wow. It's tough to say. It's tough to say, to be honest. As a small business owner, there's definitely a lot of sacrifices. Sometimes when people do ask about new business ventures, I tell them to just be prepared mentally, physically, because you're talking about a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifice, but hard work pays off. Hard work definitely pays off. Taking that risk sometimes pays off, and sometimes I tell people, I've failed so many times. There's just so many times business owner or a new entrepreneur will fail. But if you let that failure get to you, then you're gonna give up. And what entrepreneurs do basically is they learn from their failure, they dust off, they get back up, and they try something new, you know, and then they try something new and they change their methods, and they basically keep seeking a way to make things work until it works.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I would say don't give up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So would you say then, Tae, that you part of your drive is and like we mentioned earlier, that you've got several interests, right? Is that part of your drive is to do something? The challenge of that is to do something new.
Yes, I like doing something new. I always like getting into new industries, but something that I understand.
Okay.
It's nothing that is too far-fetched from what we're used to. But again, most of our businesses are always tied to some type of real estate. Whether it be, you know, at one time, this is pre-pandemic, you know, we were involved in the whole Airbnb industry, and that's because we had an apartment that we could rent out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or a gas station business because we own the real estate that the gas station is on. You know? Or whether it be like a sign business because it's at a perfect intersection where people can, you know, observe the sign. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, it's been an adventure.
Sure. That's one of the things that makes life exciting, right?
Yeah.
So what's next on the horizon for Vantage Advertising?
Well, I think for Vantage, we're pretty limited because of the fact that the way right now the law is written is that it actually any additional digital signs are forbidden right now. That's the way the law is written. I know there was push to change the sign law,
Okay.
and you know, I was involved in that law, trying to get a draft involved. Although it did pass the legislature, it got vetoed,
Oh.
and I hope there's another push to maybe change the sign
Sure.
law.
Yes, of
because
course.
I think
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot of good opportunities out there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of Vantage, I think it's pretty limited. But right now, there's another venture that we are looking into going into, and it's basically affordable housing. I've always been a very big proponent of home ownership, especially for our younger generation. I feel for them because I feel that our younger generation can reap the benefits of home ownership, but it's just incredibly high. You know, I mean, you saw in the past few days how high pricing has. A median house goes for like $450,000.
Right.
That's
It's
like
incredible.
That's not double what it was pre-pandemic, but there's a dramatic increase.
Yes.
And I just hope our next generation can reap the benefits of home ownership, and the way to do it is have, you know, affordable housing for these younger generations.
Yes, indeed. Well, good luck to you,
Yeah,
Tae. Thank
yeah.
you so much. We really appreciate your time. And we learned so much. My goodness, we learned so much about all of the challenges that you went through, and we're just so grateful that you have been able to overcome those challenges. And we truly appreciate your insights and sharing what it takes to run and operate a sustainable small business in Guam.
Sure.
We encourage our residents to support our small businesses like Vantage Advertising, who make a big difference in our community. I'd like to thank our listeners for tuning in and listening to today's show. We encourage you to drop us a note to share your comments on this episode, or visit our website or social media platforms. We'd really appreciate your feedback. We look forward to having you back on the Chamber Members Spotlight podcast again soon. If you haven't already heard it, we also have another podcast called The Chamber Biz Box, which features issues and challenges that face our business community. They are both currently available on our YouTube and Spotify, so give it a listen. This is your host, Catherine Castro. Until next time, take good care and make it a great day, Guam.